30-4-80-E, the following have been notified of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Fort Mill Times, the Herald, the Charlotte Observer, CM2, and WRHI. I'd like to begin and ask you to join me with a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We'll now stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You all have received a copy of the agenda. Are there any adjustments or corrections? All right, and that will stand as approved. We do have one quick action resulting from discussions in our executive session. I will entertain a motion.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration for 2 replacement certified staff.
Second.
Motion and a second for 2 replacements of certified staff. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. We are still in the hiring season. We are just about to get everything all staffed. That brings us to our regular agenda, and our first item, we've got some special recognition. We do. Are we ready for it? Okay. Sorry, we're just kind of getting everything together, but we're ready to go.
Oh, we're ready.
All right, good.
I was looking to see if any of them were here. As part of our strategic plan several years ago, we started a longevity, awarding employees for a longevity and service program. We have breakpoints at 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 25, and 30. Normally we have, and this tells you a little bit about the aging process of the teaching force, I guess. Normally we have 30-year folks. This year we don't. So the teaching force is getting younger, as we suspected, and we've had several people exit the Corps here in the last 5 or 10 years. So with that said, this year we have 1, 2, 3, 4 folks to honor, and I'm not sure, several of them couldn't come, right, Pat? For some various reasons. One person was reluctant to come, and then there were other conflicts as well. And Mr. Wilson had with Mr. Christopher gone, or
he's busy these days.
That's right, that's right. So, but we don't want that to detract from the importance of these 25 years for these folks. And that's just 25 years in Fort Mill. They could have worked in other places. So we're so deeply gratified to them for their service to children, to the community. And I'm just going to call their names, and if they're here, we'll take care of them. You know of any of them. Mary Ellen Bales, 25 years, I think she was. And Liza, what are they? I mean, they get, this is a diamond. Okay. Oh, I'll take the ones that don't come then. Okay. All right. So Mary Ellen, Gwendolyn Hall, is Gwendolyn here? Okay. Flo Ramsey. Flo, there she is.
For you.
And Darren Wilson, who is at a ball game tonight. So let's give all those folks a nice round. Here's the diamond. Y'all can fight over on the school board. Okay, we have next, we're going to honor our early literacy professional development class. Typically we do this at the end of a school year when they complete the class. So I'd like to ask Jamie White to come forward, the teacher of the class. Is she over? Where's Jamie?
She's here somewhere.
All right, we're going to bring them in slowly. Come on in, Jamie, you first.
Okay.
You can't bring all of them in here at one time, man.
I know. I've got them in the store.
Okay. But you stand right here, and before we get started, I want to embarrass Jamie. Each week, FSI office, along with the Carolina Panthers and HP, collect nominations for 2020 Teacher Heroes of COVID-19. The top 6 nominations go on to compete for the weekly winner. I don't know why you're standing here, right? The teacher with the most votes will be the winner for that particular week and win a grand prize of $1,000 in school supplies from FSI office. We're proud tonight to offer congratulations to Jamie White, who received the most votes and was selected as the weekly winner for week 5. She will receive a large box of PP&E and school supplies along with an additional $1,000 in school supplies from FSI office. She will now be considered along with previous weekly winners for the Teacher Heroes of COVID-19 Teacher of the Year. The winner will receive an additional $1,000 in supplies, so we'll vote for you there too. Congratulations, Jane.
And we need to make sure and get that information about how to vote for the Teacher of the Year out there so that we can all vote for her for that, for the annual prize.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I'll stay with you if you need me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Hey everybody, I'm Jamie White, and I'm the Reading Recovery Teacher Leader of the Fort Mill School District, and I'm tired. Okay, this has been a year. I think God was trying to tell me something because the starfish were everywhere this summer, and if you've ever heard the poem, It Matters to This One, I'm the person out there throwing the starfish back into the ocean because it matters to this one. We have had a lot of work. I am so proud to recognize these teachers. All of these teachers were classroom teachers this year. And I had one brave assistant principal was drinking my Kool-Aid, and now she's the principal of River Trail, so I am ecstatic for that to happen. I know she'll be a great, strong literacy leader. So you can see we've had some pictures of us all together. At the beginning of the year, you know, life was good. We had no idea what was getting ready to happen to us. In January, we were able to go to a conference together and learn together and just touch a lot of really sweet kids' lives. But then on March 13th, you know, we were having our teacher work day and never thought that we wouldn't see our kids in person again on Monday. And we all know how critical early intervention is to these kids. And, you know, it's kind of the Matthew effect. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And thinking about what happens to these kids when we have to shut down like we did. But our teachers rallied together, we got books out, we took books and delivered books, we continued our Clemson class on Zoom, and we made it work. We talk about a teacher has a slightly larger heart than your average human heart, but we've got to think about all the people in this district and how much they have helped support kids. Tom Buckley has helped make a van so that if we get shut down again, I can actually get in the van and drive to their house and read with them. Now we've got teachers with shields up and kids with masks on. This is what this year's looking like. And we just recently got little face shields for our kids as well. It's hard to notice phonemic awareness in a mask, and when you say, you know, watch my mouth, and so everybody's got shields now, so teachers and kids. So I was just going to introduce my brave souls that have helped us so much this year. Jennifer Antley is a kindergarten teacher. Jennifer Antley is a kindergarten teacher at Springfield, and this year she is a virtual kindergarten teacher. So I have so many of my teachers that are being the virtual classroom teachers this year. So I feel good about them having this extra training. Our next one is Kim Barkley, and she is a kindergarten teacher at Fort Mill Elementary School. And Kim is also on the literacy committee this year at Fort Mill Elementary, so I'm proud of that. We have Molly Bloom, and she's a kindergarten teacher, and she's at Fort Mill Elementary School as well. Our next teacher is Hannah Kokenhauer. She is a first grade teacher at Springfield, and she's also a virtual classroom teacher. You need to hug a teacher today. My next teacher is Jessica Howe. She is a second grade classroom teacher. Last year she was at Springfield, and this year she is at Kingstown, but she's going to be a River Trail teacher. You need to hug a teacher today. All right, here we have Ebony Kennedy. She is the guidance counselor at Orchard Park Elementary School. And so she managed to do her guidance counseling last year and work with our students that needed her. Hug a guidance counselor too. This is Erica McMillan, and she's a kindergarten teacher at Gold Hill Elementary School. And Erica is a virtual kindergarten teacher. This is Joanne Smith. Joanne is at Riverview and an Angel of Mercy. Joanne taught 4th grade. She had taught 2nd grade before. She took my class last year, and now she is a virtual 1st grade teacher housed at Riverview, but is teaching the kids from Kingstown. Okay? Next, Savannah Stager, who is now the principal of River Trail Elementary School, and God love her too. Hug a principal today. Savannah worked with the lowest child at Pleasant Knoll Elementary School last year, and the kid can read. Okay, our next person is Kristen Wilkerson, and Kristen was at Pleasant Knoll teaching 1st grade. Now she's at Kingstown teaching 1st grade, but she's moving to River Trail. So thank you, Kristen. And we also have, not last but not least, Kelly Yates, a kindergarten teacher at Riverview, and she continues to teach kindergarten at Riverview in person. And these are my teachers. Thank you so much for supporting Reading Recovery. I cannot thank you enough. We have a Reading Recovery teacher at every elementary school, and we added a position at Springfield, so Springfield now has 2 Reading Recovery teachers. So thank you so much. This is so important.
And thank you to all of your flexibility. It sounds like everybody's been willing to go where they're needed most, and that's really important to us, so thank you.
Hi, I'm Cece Bates, the director of the Clemson University Reading Recovery and Early Literacy Training Center for South Carolina. On behalf of everyone at Clemson and at the center, I'd like to congratulate you on completing the early literacy courses. As you know now, it's quite a commitment, and we appreciate your dedication to your students and to your ongoing professional learning. On top of the already challenging coursework and practicum expectations, you also navigated the closure of the South Carolina public schools. Thank you for staying the course when you could have easily given up. The fact that you finished the training speaks volumes.
I'm Mary Ann McBride, teacher leader in residence at the Clemson University Training Center for South Carolina. I'd like to add my voice to that of Cece Bates in congratulating all of you in completing your coursework for the early literacy training. We couldn't be more proud of you, and we couldn't be more ecstatic about your dedication and your work with the children in spite of a global pandemic. We know that last year presented unusual challenges and more challenges than ever. So we are ever grateful to you. We know that the parents and the children that you worked with are very, very pleased with what you did for them. And we wish you all the very best as you navigate this continuing challenging year ahead of all of us.
you know, kids need their teachers. They really need their teachers. And I mean, you think about some of the kids we work with, they're living in townhomes or apartments, you know, they are in their home since March, you know. I'm calling them every day, and one of my favorite little boys, I know you're not supposed to have favorites, but anyway, he would tell me, I want to go on, let's go on a road trip. That was his way of saying he wanted to go on a field trip, you know. So I would take my iPad. Well, my husband had decided that we needed to invest in chickens. So he had ordered a chicken coop that came in 40 boxes. And it said that he could put it together in 2 hours. Well, 4 days later, we had a chicken coop. But Lyle loved to go watch, you know, see the chickens. So finally, you know, I kept every day, you know, well, we got any eggs? No eggs. Well, finally, they were supposed to have eggs July 4th. Well, Lyle was still looking by about August 30th, we finally got some eggs. So the first little batch of eggs we got, we were back in school. So I cut a egg carton and I said, to Lyle from your road trip chickens. So we sent him some eggs home from the chickens. But, you know, just not being able to go outside really and being stuck at home, they really enjoyed being able to have that everyday touch base with your teacher. So I'm just glad we're back in school, and I hope we can all stay safe. So thank you.
We'll put him to work. The guy with hair.
Amazing set of ladies there. Our next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the September 8th and September 22nd meetings. Are there any adjustments, corrections, additions? All right, those will stand as approved. And then we have public participation. I do believe we have a card for public participation. Mr. Belton, Montreal Belton, if you would come up to the microphone. When you get there and you're ready, if you'll state your name and address, and then you have 5 minutes to address the board on a parent concern.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairperson and members of the board and administration here. You know, Ms. White actually probably summed up everything that I wanted to say. She started in the book of Matthew, and I think I'm going to start in the book of Romans. In the book of Romans, there's a verse there that says, not just about the law or the rules, but it's only about His grace. And I think we all here in this room today can say that many of the opportunities we've had in life certainly would have been cut short if it had not been for God's grace. And so I am thankful. I also am thankful for the opportunities we've all had to move ourselves through this just unprecedented times that we're all facing now as citizens and as members of the community at large. I stand here today, and Madam Chairperson, I think it's important for you to understand that generally when I come and stand before boards, school boards, I'm representing parents, and I come here as an adversary oftentimes. Actually, most of the time, I've never come before a school board as a parent. Today, I don't come as an adversary. I come as a parent. I come as a concerned parent, and I come as a concerned citizen. I first want to say that I do appreciate the tremendous work that has been done by Fort Mill School District and the other 80+ school districts around the state in various ways of trying to get schools back open. Certainly I understand the political schism that exists between some who want all virtual, some who want AB, and some who want 5 days. I have been very public about my position that I wish schools were open 5 days. But I do understand the difficult decision that you all in, and as a family who suffered through COVID this summer, I also understand that it's a very real disease, and as a minority who buried part of my family, who buried a close friend of my family this past weekend, I also understand it's a very dreadful disease, so I won't delve into that political. That's what you guys are elected for, and I'll let you make that decision. Tanya and I, who's at the back of the room, we chose for our child to go on the AB schedule. It has been extremely challenging for us. It is challenging for us as a parent, and you know, Ms. White talked about the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Well, I stand here today as a person with an earned doctorate degree and a law degree, and my wife too has an earned doctorate. She's a lifelong educator. I taught school for 5 years, was a principal for 10 years, and have practiced law for the last number of years. And we are struggling as parents to provide the support that my child needs in an upper level English class. And other upper level classes. I talked to many of my friends around this community and other communities, and they too, when they get into the upper level calculus and all the upper level math classes. And so I say to you today that most of your teachers are doing an outstanding job, and most of the people here in this community, the parents that I've spoken to by and large, have been extremely pleased with what the school system has done and continues to do. And I ask you as a board to ensure that systemically that there's an expectation from this board, or this thing I started with was called grace. As a family, I'm standing here now as a citizen, and I'm asking for grace. I'm asking for grace for those of us who have to work full time, and we're trying to teach high school children on alternative days. I have not worked in the last 2 weeks, to include today. I canceled every meeting with clients today so I could try to help my child get through classes with I consider very unrealistic expectations, and someone who just do not understand how to extend grace to students and parents. And I, as a parent, cannot stand idly and allow my child to fail and the other children that I know are failing, because simply we cannot get concessions on some of those things. One of those things that I want to show you, and I see my time is getting short here, is some of the assignments. Assignments that are scheduled on one day, and then those assignments are due the following day or being tested the following day that they return. Well, my question is, if I'm on an A day and I don't return to school till maybe 2 days later or 4 days later, then tell me who's to teach that material in the interim. In the virtual academy, my understanding, students have access to teachers 5 days a week, and granted, and I don't begrudge that, that is a choice parents made. But I still am asking to have some type of expectation that the sole teaching of new material does not fall on parents, particularly when we get in these high level. And again, I was complaining to a friend of mine, and she said, well, Montreal, try teaching my first grader how to read. And I talked to another friend who had a 6th grader in Spanish and said, well, try teaching 6th grade Spanish to a child. So I ask you to set some type of expectations. I'm not asking for a sea change in board policy. I'm not even asking for a change in board policy. I am just simply asking as a parent for some grace. Secondly, students are here in school 50% of the time. I think it is absolutely unconscionable in the best of times to give a child a 0. I implore any of you to find one piece of educational research that say an agreed mechanism in the highest of standards that students should get a 0. Particularly when students are only at school 50% of the time. I believe that it's not unrealistic to ask that no grade be given lower than a 50. A 50 is an F, as a 0 is an F. So therefore, at least with a 50 though, children have an opportunity to pull themselves out of it. And so as a board, as my time has concluded, I just ask you that as you're setting administrative guidelines and you're talking to your senior level administrators who've been great people, and Dr. Epps has heard my conversation this week and he was gracious enough to return my call, so was Marty was gracious enough to return my call. I'm just asking you to remember that some of us as parents are struggling and we need grace to help us save our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, will you come back real quick? I don't think you stated your name and address just for the record, so it'll be recorded.
I didn't want to give up any of my 5 minutes, so I'll take your time and do that.
So just for the recording.
And while you do that, I did run off this assignment, and my initial intention was to pass it out, but I'm not interested in singling out any particular teacher. I did redact names, and there are no names on it. But I am going to leave it with Marty McGinn, because I want you to see the example of what was given to my child on Monday, spent 30 minutes in class doing it, or 45 minutes, and then there's a potential to have a test tomorrow. This is why I canceled my clients today, so I can try to teach this material to my child. My name is Montreal Belton. I live at 300 Abingdon Way, Fort Mill, South Carolina, 29715.
Thank you. And it sounds like you're in contact with the right people to try and figure out what the solution is.
I didn't come here, I just came here as a parent and a citizen to let you know that we're struggling as parents and we need some assistance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a couple of staff reports, starting with financials and impact fees. Ms. Lordo.
Good evening. We've included in your packet tonight the monthly financials for August. This is the first month when we run the full payroll under the new budget because teacher pay cycle begins in August. So as we would have expected, our total revenues were $13,992,704 compared to expenditures of $18,723,740. Expenditures over revenues 4.7 million. So this is a month where we are utilizing fund balance for cash flow. Tax collections were primarily, as we would expect, only vehicle taxes in August. 975,000. No other significant points for August unless you have any questions. As we're rolling into tax season, I'll give you a quick update. For all of us who live in York County, we did receive our reassessment notices on new property values. I'm told still that the tax bills will be mailed October 15th. The tax bills have actually now been posted online by York County, so any taxpayers can look online on the York County website and actually see their tax notices. The reassessment rollback has been calculated and has, I think, worked to offset the rollback has offset the increase in reassessment values. I think on average, I actually looked at my own and a few people, and it worked out almost exact. So there was an article in the Herald that the county did state that the school district, basically the school board sets the millage. I just want to be clear, we did also do the rollback as required by state law for tax notices.
Well, and Leanne, it's not just the rollback was the offset because of the increased property value. But
Correct.
in addition to that, we actually had a pretty significant reduction in millage that had nothing to do with the assessment. That was
Correct.
just our
We had a
decision.
significant reduction of debt millage of 20 mils, which in a non-reassessment year, our taxpayers would have seen a much higher decrease in their tax bills. But because this is a reassessment year, on average, for homeowners, I believe we will be at about a break even as individual homeowners.
And I suspect that's because in our district area, the asset values have appreciated relative to the rest of the county.
Correct. The actual county increases average 14 to 15%. Fort Mill increases average 18%. But for an individual home, the maximum increase by law is 15%.
So rough math, the value increased 15%, even though we reduced our taxes 20%, it ended up about a wash.
Correct. I would think for the average taxpayer.
Darn.
Also, quick update on impact fees. All of the briefs have now been filed at the South Carolina Supreme Court level. Our attorney is now waiting on notification for a date for the hearing to be set. That will be the next step. We are hoping that would be anytime between the next 3 to 6 months. We will have a hearing set, and that will be the next step. So it is moving forward. Total collections on impact fees to date are $675,831. That is 1,267 single-family units and 716 multifamily apartments. So we've collected now, since passage of the new impact fee, on 1,983 units. Any questions about? We continue to see that steady growth.
How does that
Steady
compare
growth.
to the growth from last year at this time?
I'm not sure about last year, but I can tell you that for July and August, I'm starting to see more of an increase versus the spring when we were under closure. We're starting to see things building back up on a consistent basis.
Leanne, I often see confusion out there about where the money is. So just to clarify, the 31 million is
Sure.
still has been collected and is in escrow until such time as we are
Correct.
able to spend it after the court case.
It is held in escrow along with the interest earnings, and the interest earnings also are required by state law to be used in the same manner as the impact fee. We have drawn $5 million to be used towards our debt service at a later date. But it's all held in escrow earning interest, and it cannot be used for any other purposes.
And the criticality of that date of the court case is before we get to this time next year. So that we know
Absolutely.
how much of it we can spend for next
Yes.
year to reduce taxes first.
Yes, and that is certainly our goal. And hopefully with the calendar, projected calendar on the impact fee hearing, we will have that well in advance of when you have to, as a board, make that decision for the next tax year. I reported to you last month that we had an upcoming bond sale we have projected some savings. We had 2 sales on September 16th, very successful. We did an advance refunding, and we had 11 bidders on the sale when we went to market. We actually generated $6.7 million in gross interest savings because the interest rate went from 3.28% to 0.73 on that issue. So we were extremely pleased with that. The second issue was $54.9 million, primarily to complete the 2018 referendum. The $50 million that we're using to build the Forest Creek Middle School. We had 9 bidders on that, and we had a low interest rate of 1.7% on that issue. So very successful. Very successful. Just a few other things I wanted to share. I had touched on this at the last meeting that the State Procurement Office had sent a survey. The first survey was sent earlier this summer, and it was not clear that they were just beginning that process of working with some vendors for PPE. They did not indicate that they would fund the items that districts requested. There was some confusion about that. About a month ago, they sent a second survey, and they clearly said, we will fund this from state coronavirus relief funds. So we rapidly responded to the survey. We have received notification that all the things we requested, we will receive, and we have received some. So we're very pleased with that. I just want to give you kind of a brief rundown on the items. We are receiving additional cloth masks for students and adults, additional gloves, wipes. We requested 50,000 containers, and we're going to receive those on October 7th. We're actually trying to figure out where we're going to put these temporarily. Yes, tomorrow. We ordered additional KN95 masks primarily for special services. Those are here. We requested an additional adult and child disposable mask. Those are coming. We requested 500 bottles of hand sanitizer. Those are here. additional face shields. Yeah. Additional face shields. And the electrostatic sprayers, we had purchased one per school. We went ahead and requested 20 more so we could have a second one at each of the facilities. And those are approved. We don't have them yet, but they're going to be here. And then the last thing, we sort of kind of reached for the sky with desk shields for the secondary level because we had a lot of questions about that. Have we considered supplying that for middle and high school? We requested 6,700 desk shields, and they're going to show up at the end of October. I asked Kelly to send me a picture. If y'all could, I made a copy for you. These are actually trifold desk shields. This was where you just had like this option or this option from the state. You didn't get a whole catalog to select from, but since they're paying for these, we're very grateful. These are actually approximately 2 feet tall, 24 inches tall. The ones that we have at the elementary level are about 16 to 20 inches. So these are definitely taller, larger. They will sit on the desk. We think they'll work great. But the state, I was on a call with the state procurement office last Friday. They are not expecting that, they said don't expect these until around the end of October.
But this is a nice design too because it looks like it's malleable for different configurations and tables and things like that.
Yes.
Good.
I mean, we were, honestly, when the survey came out, we really did not expect that we would be receiving all the items that we requested. So we are extremely happy that the state is funding this.
Now, is that part of the CARES?
It is part of the coronavirus relief fund. The second piece of that is that today, and I was told on the call Friday, they shared with all the districts that in addition to what the state is purchasing from these surveys, that we will have the opportunity to submit a request to get some reimbursement for what we have spent locally. So actually just got the email about that this afternoon. Similar to what I shared with you with student nutrition, we're going to have to do a lot of work, pull a lot of documentation quickly on what we've spent. But we're very hopeful that we're going to receive possibly some reimbursement on some of the technology items, as well as some of the PPE items. And we will submit for everything that we have purchased that qualifies. And then we'll see how far. We have no idea how much funding's available. It's not an allocation by district. It's you submit this with all your backup and we will approve it, they said by, I believe, like October 21st. So it'll be a very quick turnaround if we're going to receive funds. So what'll happen is if we receive funds, we will be able to reimburse some of the money that you had approved earlier, and that will give us some funding for additional supplies as we need them throughout this year. Because we're starting to get requests from schools as they're running out of things.
But hopefully these, like what you said, I forgot how many, you've got 50,000 things of wipes or
50,000.
whatever. Hopefully that will help with that supply of the schools, right?
Yes.
I found one of those at Costco this weekend. Miss Laura, thank you for your department, you and your department's quick response and getting.
Sure. I mean, it's been, and as we talked to the schools, and I talked to a couple of the schools today about some of their supplies, things have truly changed at the state level in the last really 2 to 3 weeks, because 3 weeks ago we had no idea that we were going to get all the things on this list. We had no idea about the reimbursable funds available based on the bill that was passed and the governor signed into law. So it has been, I think, a very changing environment at the state level on funding, and we will continue to work with that and send in all the documentation.
Well, the 6,700 desk shields, would that cover us in, at the secondary levels?
Yes.
In a 5-day scenario? If
We base that on the number of students.
Okay.
So we're starting to have some discussions today about, okay, does that mean the student is going to fold it up and carry it with them? Probably yes. Probably print their name and a little label and put on there. So we'll begin to have those discussions with the principals and the school administration about how that's gonna work.
But those could be also used as soon as they come in.
Oh, absolutely.
Regardless of whether or not the 5-day option is discussed.
Right. We will deliver those as soon as they come in.
Is the number that you turned in the number of in-person students, or is it the total number of students that we have, so it would include virtual academy students as well?
I would have to go back and look, because we did this a while ago, but we should be very close to the total number of desks.
Okay.
We're at 6,600 on the middle and high school level right now.
Okay.
Total or in person?
Give me a second. I'll look for it.
Can I ask you one other question?
Sure.
The misters that you mentioned?
Yes,
I seem
the
to recall
sprayers.
one of the discussions that we had way back when was about the expense of the juice for them. So did they provide us the misters and or the contents, do you know?
They provided us the misters.
Okay. All
They
right.
provided us the misters.
Is that something that can be done intraday, or is it only when the building is vacant?
No, it can be done during the day.
Okay.
And I just say that because I've seen the person here at the district office,
When you're in your
and she'll
office
go
all
around and she's spraying all the door handles.
Good.
Christy, that 6,600 is just face-to-face students total
As of today.
as of today, and that would be A students and B students.
Got it. Thank you.
So based on the budget at the state level not changing and otherwise, are we still tracking and comfortable and confident where we were at?
Our overall budget, yes, so far, because the state did not pass a budget. So they are still operating, based on the budget from 1920, for the state budget. So we're receiving our monthly allocations based on those numbers, but we know that'll be adjusted for us once we get to the 45-day counts and the 135-day counts.
You mean,
That was when you could buy a Coke for a nickel in 1920.
Yeah, yes.
I mean,
2019, yeah.
Yeah. But we've received no other, I don't think we'll hear any more information until they come back in January.
So we'll take
So-
on PPE.
Yes.
We'll call it happy and.
Exactly. We will request everything we can to reimburse ourselves for PPE, to give ourselves a little, yeah.
And we will, and we will continue to pay the, I don't know, the service credit
Correct?
to our teachers, even though the
Paying the
state did
service
not.
credit to our teachers, just like we normally would.
The state didn't.
Yes, and we have received, I think I shared with you last time that all of our staff at the elementary schools were paid for their additional 5 days for elementary and middle. We also have been paid by the state for that as well. So that's cleared, and we checked that one off.
Keep asking for
Yeah.
stuff until they don't.
Exactly, yeah.
Don't hold back.
Keep pushing for those, what is it, nickel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Back in 1920 when it only cost a nickel for a
Mhm.
Coke. Anything else, Maria?
Okay,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. All right, superintendent's report, I believe.
Okay, beginning with the calendar of events, you have a copy, I believe. You're running that. Here, as usual.
Norma.
Okay. Of course, tonight's meeting is Thursday morning, the Chamber of Commerce State of the Community Breakfast at the Glennon Center from 7:30 to 9:30. You can attend either in person or virtual, and I think they're still selling registrations or not there.
they were closing
Okay, all right. Okay. 14th, principals meeting, this next school board meeting on the 20th, And then the 22nd of the month, the school board candidate forum hosted by the Fort Mill School District Teachers Forum be held at Catawba Ridge High School. However, the public's not invited. You can view it. It's a virtual forum, so you can watch it online. And I think it says 7, 8 o'clock. I think y'all are receiving information from the forum, I believe.
Came through Peach Jar?
Yes.
Okay, through Peach Jar.
I'm sorry.
I got it in Peach Jar.
Oh, okay. Well, I got the email from the teacher that's in charge of it. She was communicating with y'all about bios. Okay. And they're getting the questions up. Then the election day schedule for the 3rd, the meeting that night. Then the principal meeting, the second school board meeting, and then of course the Thanksgiving holiday. Any other dates on there that are important that I'm leaving out?
I have a quick question about the election day. Is this a polling site?
Yeah, so we use the other, we don't use this anymore. We use they're in the training center.
Okay.
I had made note, the South County School Board Association has got a couple, I'll call them virtual conferences on both the 8th and the 15th, that several of us will attend virtually for the next couple Thursdays. I'm not sure you all signed up, but we will be doing it from our homes instead of from a conference this year.
Okay, any other dates of note? Okay, I'm skip down to a monthly attendance update. We had this month for each level, where Nation Ford High was the winner for the high school level, or the leader at 98.135%. The middle school leader, Fort Mill Middle, with 98.577%, and the overall winner and the elementary winner at 99.265, Springfield Elementary. So congratulations to those. Now, I'm gonna go into the enrollment update, and Joe, I think you're gonna put some numbers up for me. Yeah, that was, this was through, I believe it was, is that through today or last Friday? I believe it's last Friday, yeah. You see the 16,855. Let me see the sheet. We had 11, where's the breakdown? I thought we had the breakdown on virtual. Anyway, it's about 30%.
11,8 and 5,040.
Yeah. Okay, all right, I thought we had it up on the screen, yeah. So 11,815, 5,040 in the virtual, total of 6,855. So it's the same situation as last month, where we've got a number of kids out there who would have been on the rolls, and who chose to do this Connections Academy or the state virtual program, and who homeschooled. So that's kind of where we are. I think we're consistent with Rock Hill. We were, last week, we were 2 students ahead of Rock Hill at one point, right, Joe? I don't know how that's gone since then, but we're going back and forth.
How was the growth this year compared to last year?
Well, that's what I've talked about. If you look at, if you count those other students, or just a percentage of them, we're on target with where we projected, maybe slightly less. So it's hard to, it's such an outlier year. I mean, we finished the year with more than 16,855, so certainly we didn't go down. So it's kind of a tricky question. It's got an answer that we're on target, but as soon as we think things go back to normal, we'll get several of those kids.
Yeah, I mean, the real question is, do students decide to remain in a charter school, a private school, wherever they've moved to, or do they come back into the public school system? And then separate from that, the number of kids that actually move into the district, which, based on what we just heard from the number of housing starts, that part sounds like the exact same trajectory that we've had forever.
Everything's normal except for that question you just posed, and we won't know until it happens.
Yeah.
I'm hearing anecdotally about enrolling new students and even some switchbacks already occurring, whether it's into virtual or into in-person, but just, not hundreds, but as I talk to different teachers and principals, that every day new kids are still showing up.
Yeah, I know
from those circumstances.
I check with the front just about every day, and we still have walk-ins every day. So I don't know how they show up exactly on the numbers like they should, but they're coming, they're continuing to come in. I think we'll continue to grow during the year is what you're suggesting.
Yeah, I just don't know how steep, right? That's what's hard to project.
Okay, so that's the enrollment update. Let me have a few comments about continuing on the opening of school, which we'll probably do every meeting. I guess the last week or so, the best way to describe it, for me, is a lot of confusion out there, particularly on social media. It was another exercise to me in not believing everything you read on social media. And I would beg the public, if you have questions, call us, email us, and ask us. We'll answer. And oftentimes I see some things that are just not accurate and causes confusion. So what happens out there is, and this is our position, it's been our position since day one. Every school in South Carolina, every school in America, and I assume across the world, the globe, wants to get back to normal as safely as we can. So that's been our goal the whole time. We said that when we announced the reopening plan. We said also that we would review each grading period, which is what we're doing now. We're coming up on the 9-week grading period as to what that would look like. We have been able to start our elementary school back as we planned, at face-to-face with the family model. So nothing has gotten off line from what we said we were doing, with the goal of, we know that students need to be back in school. We know that. Everybody wants them back because the time they're away is clearly not as good as 100% here, but it has to be done in a healthy manner. So the two goals have to meet. As to when they meet, it's going to be dependent on our individual data, our numbers through the county, through DHEC. We work daily through Tamara, through DHEC. We have a direct contact there. We're keeping up with numbers. We do the dashboard every Friday, of course, but we're talking about it daily with them, and so nothing has changed in that regard. No decision tonight. That's all over social media. We're meeting tonight to make no decision. Community pressure on the school superintendent and on the district. Not so. The school administration will make the decision based on data, not the school board. No pressure from these folks up here. So I read that, and it's just not true. Again, going back to the grading periods, we are at the end of our second week of elementary face-to-face. We have that data to review. We're reviewing and looking at all the challenges associated with what to do at the middle and high school level when and if we go back. So we're doing exactly what we said. I wish I could tell you tonight I knew what the answer was. I don't, because we're still, every week presents more data and more information. So, but I can tell you that we hope to go back. We hope to go back as soon as we safely can go back. It's just better for students. And I said safely. So it's better for students educationally to be back, but it has to be safe. So again, there's nothing magical about that. The problem is probably in different parts of the country, safe would have a different definition. So that's where we turn to DHEC, what the levels are of positive test and quarantine and where all the isolations and all. So it's not just us having a finger in the air. It's based on it'll be based on scientific information. So really, I mean, I don't have any major updates tonight other than say we're carrying out the plan that we said we were going to carry out. Teachers, I've seen some information about teachers being not respected. That's not true. Of course we're respectful of your health and the students' health and everybody's health. Contracts were offered in April, and teacher contracts when a district offers a contract, it's either it's whatever the administration yields it to be, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's hybrid, whether it's virtual. So we've done nothing different than what we said we were going to do, as far as I can tell. So that's kind of the short and sweet of it. From my chair, I'll be glad to try to answer questions.
Dr. Epps, would you please readdress, you've done it before, about how much time people will miss? Because I know that's been one of the angst points.
Good. You know, ideally, you wouldn't want to do anything less than a 2-week turnaround. I can see where there might be a situation where it could be a little less. I've talked with Springs about their ability to help us with the after school. They're a little more nimble than we are. But I'd be real surprised if we recommend anything under a 2-week leeway for parents with daycare situations, with work situations.
With logistics within the schools even.
That's right, even within us, yeah.
Now, that 2 weeks that you're talking about roughly would be a decision to change course, bring everybody back, do something different, unless there were an emergency situation going the other way, which would be immediate, and that's a whole different ballgame.
That's what I meant by being nimble. We may indeed have to go the other way. The flu season's upon us. It all impacts what will happen in the future. None of us know for certain, but if we have an outbreak and it can happen quickly, then we may have to shift quickly.
Dr. Epps, on that note, we see the dashboard. Thank you very much for producing that piece of data. It's a wonderful piece of data for, I think, the community and parents to look at every Friday. It doesn't appear from my reading of it that there's an outbreak or a hot spot in our schools. Is that your understanding as well?
Currently, yeah, that's accurate currently. As I say, we're monitoring it daily. We just had I wouldn't call it an outbreak. We had an increase this past week. So I think Friday we had 8 students and 3 employees. As of today, we've got 13 students and 3 employees. So and that was one incident at an element, or at a high school. So it can take off quickly, but right now, not an outbreak.
Yeah, compliments to the feedback I've gotten from the public is, again, just back to the dashboard itself, compliments to the district on the job you've done to keep that dashboard going and updated. So nice work.
I've got a question for Tamara, if I can.
And let me say one thing before you hit Tamara with a good one. Contrary to popular belief, from my chair, it's not a political decision. It's a science and numbers decision. Go ahead.
All right, just for clarification perspective, the numbers we report to DHEC, numbers we put on the dashboard, I'm not even sure how you know, but if the quarantine or the positive test is deemed to have originated from something outside of the school district, do we report that?
Yes,
So if our people are out, it's reported.
it is still reported.
Okay.
Only because that child or that staff person is being taken away from us and away from the school district, from school.
Seems logical to me.
And I don't know that everybody can hear that that's watching virtually, but the answer is yes. It is all staff and students, regardless of how they came about, because we probably don't even know. But if a student is out, a staff member is out, a student has tested positive, a staff member has tested positive, regardless of where or how, it is included in the dashboard.
It is.
And that dashboard's updated every Friday.
Every Friday.
So if we know about a case today, we won't see it on that dashboard till Friday. Right.
And likewise, others will roll off that are out of quarantine period or are beyond their exposure date.
So that dashboard will fluctuate. It'll increase and decrease as people are getting back to the schools.
Correct.
The other thing I would say, I have received a number of emails of concern in both directions. And I say I, just because I get to respond to them. Everybody here has received the same emails. And they are split. And they are from teachers, and they are from from parents, and they are from community members, and they are, please go back, and they are, please stay AB, and they're from elementary, they're from high, we do not have in the country a consistent agreement of the right answer of how to solve this thing. So I appreciate the work that you guys are doing to analyze the data and come up with the best possible solution. There are certainly challenges with students only being in person with a teacher half the time. And I think, we can always continue to try and figure out ways to make the system better in the environment that we're in. But I appreciate the fact that you guys are looking at it, and I just want everybody to know that if you think that we're caving to pressure on one side or the other, it's pretty equal. So Makes it
I can-
easy just to stay in the middle and let you guys decide.
I can corroborate that, whether it's teachers or the public, it's one way, one the next. I don't know what the percent would be. It'd have to be 50-50 in my guesstimation. I'll go to Mr. Belton's word, grant us grace. We're trying to consider everything. I beg the teachers and the public to please know that we want to go back. We want to go back safely. Those two goals have to meet. That's just pretty simple. But yes, if we were to take a vote, I think we'd just be looking at the 50-50 split, and so anyway.
And I will say, in conjunction to that, you know, and Monterey, you hit it right on the head, grace. I have preached to my boys since they were little, patience and tolerance. And at this juncture, I feel like it's time to preach to the public and to us as a collective group, patience and tolerance. This is not something that is normal. This is not something that we've been doing since the dawn of time. This is something new. And as much as everybody's tired of hearing, oh, the new normal, this is new territory, it is. Patience and tolerance will get us all a lot further along than where we're at right now with the nonsense.
I've got a question for, probably for Liza, but I'm wondering what we have done to convey to our staff what their options are relative to sick time directly related to COVID. As far as extra time versus their sick time. Because I think there's some out there that don't know, maybe nobody knows, I don't know.
So Wayne, are you referencing the guidance under current law for the Families First Coronavirus Response Act? You know,
Yes.
the information for who would be eligible for up to 80 hours or 2 weeks of leave from their position with full pay. We have that guidance on our website as a part of our FAQ on the HR side. But we certainly do have, you know, I can share, we certainly do have some situations where we do have family members who are out on family medical leave that have requested the leave to care for an immediate family member who is positive, has a positive test result, and the family member is actively sick.
Mm-hmm.
So Tamara and I work closely in our positions each time that there is a employee who's quarantined or isolated or test positive, so that we are then, once Tamara makes us aware in HR, then we reach out to the employee to share the information about their options, whether it's regular sick leave that they're eligible for, or usually it's the FMCRA leave, and to explain that process for coding that correctly for the employees so they're not seeing any kind of reduction or docked pay.
I think that's some of the concern out there, that they know how easily they could end up getting quarantined. Forget getting sick, just getting quarantined and being out 24 days or something. And they know they don't have enough sick time in there. So talking about having kids back and this, that, and other, it's just building their concern financially, thinking about what's the impact going to be to me, because I don't have enough sick time to cover it, and they don't understand any additional time that they may be eligible for.
I recall your department sent something out before school even started pertaining to that, and kind of.
Well, and I think there's so many different variations of, is it the employee that is tested positive? Is it a quarantine situation? Is it a family situation? And so, it sounds like there are pieces of information out there available in the HR FAQs, but if not, I would encourage any staff member who's watching to contact your immediate supervisor and work with HR if you have questions that you don't know the answer to. The only other thing I was going to say is, I was just looking at some notes that I believe it will come out again tomorrow, but the last I've seen anyway, DHEC has York County rated as moderate. And the recommendation from DHEC for moderate is the AD model. So we are generally in sync with the current DHEC guidance. Now, I know we're all anxiously awaiting that low categorization because we want our case numbers to go down, and they do seem to be trending in the right direction for the most part. but the last I saw anyway, we were still sitting at moderate.
But that's countywide though, that's
It
not.
is countywide. They don't do a separate Fort Mill School District,
Right.
measurement.
So as it could might be.
We could be better, we could be worse, I don't know. What else? What else on the back to school enrollment number topic? All right, here we are again, almost record time, but we are at the end of our scheduled activities. And so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.